Final score, Pittsburgh 65 and Villanova 59. Coming up next, number 6 Kansas at Nebraska's Big Monday presented by Bud Light continues. Now for Jay Billis and Bill Raftery, I'm Sean McDonough saying so long from Philadelphia. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Antonio Graves a star. Levance Fields had 20 points. Aaron Gray had a double-double in the Panthers win. Now Reese Davis in the studio.
All right, Sean, Pittsburgh able to prove its worth on the road. Now Kansas and Sharon Collins will try to do the same. Kansas at Nebraska. Tip-off coming up.
This telecast is available on ESPN HD, presented by Olivia. And, of course, we are always in living color in HD. And you can see here at the Devaney Center a sea of red. And also, if you look real hard, you can find a smattering of Kansas blue. In this city, they love their Huskers, and they have come out tonight for Big Monday, presented by Bud Light. As number 6, the Kansas Jayhawks come calling against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Here are the standings in the Big 12 Conference. Three-way tie at the top. 5-1 marks: KU, Texas A&M, and Texas. And for the Cornhuskers, they are 1-4 in Big 12 Conference play. Hi, everybody. Ron Franklin along with Fran Fraschilla, and welcome to Lincoln, Nebraska. You go back and look at the schedule for KU. They got a scare at Iowa State, at home against Missouri. Then they lost on the road to Texas Tech. But a very good KU team, I think, received a wake-up call and has proven it since then.
Well, I think you're right, Ron. The alarm has particularly gone off for Sasha Khan inside and the brilliant little freshman from Chicago, Sharon Collins.
Doc Sadler, the new head coach here in Lincoln, Nebraska, and you have to say he's shaking up and changing the culture a little bit.
We saw that today at the walkthrough. There's one way to go for Doc Sadler, all out. You'll see that tonight from the Cornhuskers.
Star Watch, who we're going to take a look at tonight, Fran?
Well, Brandon Rush has particularly had an outstanding start to the Big 12, not only in points and rebounds, but knocking down deep shots. And Alex Marich for the Cornhuskers from down under gives Doc Sadler in his first year a low post presence.
And for more on Marich, let's go down to the third member of our broadcast team. Here's Holly Rowe. Holly?
Well, Ron, it was almost a case that Alex Marich wasn't a Cornhusker this year. He had declared early for the NBA draft. He was home in Australia when he heard that Barry Collier had resigned as head coach. He thought, I'm just not going to go back. He was just leaning towards not coming back to Nebraska at all. Doc Sadler jumped on a plane less than 48 hours after he became the head coach here and met with Alex Marich and his parents. He said, look, I will not waste a moment of your son's time. If he comes back, he will get the very best instruction and development. Alex looked at Doc Sadler's track record, saw that 8 players that he had recruited had gone on to the NBA and decided to give it a shot. Guys, one more fun note. Tonight, for the very first time ever, all the way from Australia, Dragina Marich, Alex's mom, is going to get to see him play in the United States for the very first time.
Okay, Holly, I'm sure an extremely special time for the entire family, but particularly for his mom. There's a look at mom and dad right there. And he will jump it up against Sasha Khan. And we're about to get this one underway from Lincoln. The Cornhuskers and the Jayhawks. Tip will go to KU.
Nebraska will play man-to-man, and Doc Sadler emphasized today, no dribble penetration.
Inside, Sasha Khan. It closed him up defensively. 15 seconds on the shot clock. Rush. Wright may have gotten away with the travel. Scores the two-pointer.
Well, Julian Wright's strength is off the dribble. You got a chance to see it right there. Kansas will go man-to-man. 2 guys from the same Eddie Sutton family tree.
Charles Richardson with the lob inside to Marich. then a skip pass, and they're going to turn it over. Here are the starting lineups in tonight's ball game. First of all, for the visitors from Kansas, Robinson, Chalmers, and Rush, the forward, Julian Wright, and Sasha Khan, the center. And we got Richardson, Perry, White, and Anderson, 4 guards, and then Maric is the man in the middle. Driving along the lane, not there, and the follow, the easy put back by Julian Wright.
Well, Julian Wright has been mercurial this year. Up and down, sometimes brilliant, sometimes invisible. Off to a really good start, Ron, and he was this way against Baylor a week ago when they dominated the Bears.
Chalmers gambled on the steal, missed it. The dish inside, put it on the floor, and they turn it over. Anderson gave it away to Wright, and he misses the jam.
Well, Julian Wright trying to send it home.
Doc Sadler, the new head coach here for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. 3rd season as a Division I head coach. You see his numbers, almost 71% winning percentage. Wright with his 5th point already.
A guy who Bill Self said the best game ever played by a player in a Bill Self coach team was against Florida. 21 points, 10 rebounds early in the year.
See what the Cornhuskers can get going offensively. They need folks to find shots at the outside and knock them down, because the presence inside, if it's not Maric, they're not big enough to contest, particularly against a team like Kansas. 3-pointer, it's there.
Ron, there's been a point of emphasis lately to make sure Maric touches the basketball, because that will lead to opportunities for his teammates. Perfect example right there.
Marcus Perry with the 3-pointer. Right, he's on fire. 7 points for him already, and we have not played 2 minutes.
Well, this is the Julian Wright Bill Self expects night in, night out. Young man from Chicago Heights, former McDonald's All-American. Good start.
There's Perry. Jamal White, sophomore out of Brooklyn. A little bit slow starting this year because of a broken collarbone. And he has his pocket pick. The ball dished off to Rush, and he will finger roll it, miss it. And the good hustle right there by Robinson. The 3 is missed, but Rush gets the rebound and follows with a hit.
How about Brandon Rush? 6'5", 6'6" guard, but he leads this team in rebounding at 7 a game. Now, some people expect flash from Brandon Rush. He does a lot of different things that help you win.
10-3, Jayhawks jump out on top. Here's White. White, 3-pointer, in and out, won't go, and brought down by Wright.
Nebraska, Ron, has to play perfect basketball tonight. They are undermanned, particularly in size.
Whistle and a foul inside on Maric. It's his first and the team's first.
Well, we talked about Alex Maric. You know, the ball goes through him about 1 every 3 times when he's on the floor. You see the traffic he draws, and then the good kick out, and that leads to the open shot by Perry.
Russell Robinson fell down, but he got it over to his teammate Wright, and the ball knocked away. Richardson almost with the steal. Charles Richardson, the man, he's not very big in stature. In fact, they have in the media guide, ask him how tall he is, if he's really 5'9", and he'll say, no, maybe 5'8.5" or something like that. Maybe. But I'll tell you what, you can't measure his size as far as his heart. He is the guy who has kept this ball club together.
He really has. Great team leader, having a good year, 11th in the country in assists.
Robinson, his first 2.
Well, this is the good Kansas, Rob. This is the kind of Kansas team that we have seen at times this year. Outstanding on both ends of the floor.
Down 12-3. Let's see if Nebraska gets a little impatient. They hit the 3-pointer. That's Ryan Anderson with the shot, but a bit of impatience right there. The head coach wants him to run 15 seconds at least off every time down.
They want to make this game shorter, but Anderson was open, knocked it down. The freshman from Rainier Beach, the noted school in Seattle with all the great players that have come out of there.
Right, not there. Maric rebounds.
Let's see if they run the offense through Maric.
Kahn with the foul. Sasha picks up his first. So there will be jostling underneath all night long. Maric will have a lot of different people bouncing on him. 12-6, Jayhawks on top.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by refreshingly smooth Bud Light, always worth it, and in part by GMC, engineered to the highest standard, professional grade.
Jayhawks 12-6, and for more on Doc Sadler, the new head coach of Nebraska, let's go back to Holly Rowe. Holly?
Well, guys, Doc Sadler was named the new head coach August 8th, a very late hire due to the late resignation of Barry Collier. Many of the players were home for the summer in New York, Australia, LA. Charles Richardson was here in town, and he was talking to the administrators, some of the athletic directors and associate athletic directors. They were keeping him posted with what was going on with the job search. He would then text message or call the players around the country and say, hey, you guys are going to like this guy they brought in. He let them know about Doc Sadler. They did the research on him. And he really kept those guys in touch with what was going on and letting them know, hey, this is a guy you're going to want to play for, so make sure you come back. Don't transfer out. You guys are going to like this guy. When they got here, they saw what he said was true, and they have enjoyed playing for Doc Sadler, according to guys we talked to.
Okay, Holly. And, of course, that's the example that we were making a couple of moments ago about what a leader and the backbone of this team that Charles Richardson has been.
Great point, Ron. And, you know, there's an old saying in coaching, if you don't like Doc Sadler, you don't like people. He's a guy that has very few enemies in a business that creates enemies sometimes.
Almost stolen. Chalmers got a piece of it. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Richardson puts up an air ball, and Rush will push it up for the Jayhawks. He'll put up and tried the three, and he cans it.
Well, that's the Brandon Rush we saw last year when he was the first freshman in Big 12 history to be first-team All-League.
You know, one other note on that story on Doc Sadler, and you get words that are blessings in a way, but also good strokes for you from some of your peers. And Billy Gillespie, who knows him well down at Texas A&M, said, don't worry about Doc. He's found a way to win every place he's been. Just because he's in the Big 12, he'll find a way to win here as well. Foul going to be called on KU.
Well, Doc goes back to Gatewood, Arkansas. There you see his lovely wife and boys. Landon and Matthew are in the picture somewhere. But it's interesting, Doc Sadler's background starts with Eddie Sutton as a student manager, then an assistant coach. Coached with people like James Dickey and Bill Frieder.
Well, left alone, the ball is blocked by Wright, and maybe a little bit of a frustration foul on Anderson. He's second.
Well, we talk about Kansas and we talk about the explosive offense that they show us from time to time, but where they get it done is on the defensive end. One of the leading shot blocking teams in the country at 7 a game. And Ron, they block shots from all positions. We've seen Robinson, now Wright. Brandon Rush averages over a block a game, so it's not just the big guys.
Well, they shock a lot of people by their leaping ability. Arthur in the ball game, also Collins, number 4. And Collins has been the man that has also been on fire, and as we have mentioned, maybe a star being born. Rush, that's not good news for Nebraska right there. Back-to-back threes, he's got 8.
Well, Ron, you talked about that wake-up call, and these guys woke up on the sunny side of the bed today. Impressive early start for the Jayhawks.
Along the baseline, back out for a 3, too hard off the back iron by Anderson, and taken down by Chalmers. Arthur partially lost it, took it back up, scored over Martridge. And a 30-second timeout is going to be taken by Nebraska. Will step aside for that 30. Jayhawks 20-6 in the early going.
Kansas on top early because of one of the Big 12's preseason co-players of the year, Brandon Rush. We mentioned he's off to a great start in Big 12 play from the perimeter. Knocks down a 3 in transition. Now shooting near 50% from behind the arc in conference play.
Well, the entire Jayhawk team, 61%. 8 of 13 into traffic. Ball knocked away and lost out of bounds. Also in the ball game now for KU number 32, Darnell Jackson, the big junior out of Oklahoma City, Midwest City. 4 turnovers against the Huskers, none against the Jayhawks so far.
This is a Husker team, Ron, that has overachieved this year. 12-7. Doc Sadler got that job late, as Holly mentioned. But they already have wins over Creighton, Houston, Miami of Florida, Wyoming, and Western Kentucky.
And you know, most of those ball games, they got it done defensively. I know they held University of Houston to 17% shooting in the second half of that game as Rush takes it strong to the basket, and he was fouled.
Foul number 1, second Henry. His first personal foul.
And when you talk about Bill Self and his coaching philosophy, it usually starts on the defensive end. You see the high rankings in conference play. When you talk about defense in this league, it starts with Eddie Sutton. And we were talking before the game, Ron, 9 of the 12 coaches in this league have some tie back to Mr. Iba, who casts a large shadow over the Big 12 currently.
And Rush becomes the first man at double figures tonight. He's got 10 already. And we're at 12:45 of the opening half. White couldn't hold on, too far in front. And no need to get in a hurry. Plenty of time on the shot clock.
You see how deep those blue shirts are, protecting Myrich's man inside.
Henry, runner wouldn't go. Rush knocks the ball back over to Chalmers. And at the other end, crowd wanted to walk. Marich saves it, gets it back to a teammate. And to show you the difference in how rebounding hurts you, KU has already taken 14 shots, only 7 for Nebraska.
Well, they've turned it over. They certainly are not going to get a lot of second shot opportunities. Doc Sadler is sending 4 men back when a shot goes up because they want to keep Kansas out of transition.
Strobridge into the ball game. Jay, a freshman out of Ardmore, Alabama, number 5. Arthur with the foul, so let's take a timeout. It has been all Jayhawks so far, 22-6. We'll be right back.
Hey, want a Bud Light?
Yeah.
Whoa. Rubber floors. Just had them installed. Now we'll never break a Bud Light. Oh, nice. Remote.
Refreshingly smooth Bud Light. Always worth it.
Hi.
Too much bounce. Maybe.
So we're back in Lincoln, 22-6. The Jayhawks have jumped on top, and coming up on Wednesday on ESPN, the top 2 freshmen in the country.
College basketball alive and well. And here they come. He's feeling it. Oh, the dunk by Durant. Gets after it.
So we are back. We had a chance to see Durant on Saturday in person. At halftime, his head coach told him he was not playing with passion, so he came back with, 27 second-half points to prove the point he could play with passion.
You know, and if you're going to play Texas, you got to assume that Durant's going to get his 25. I think to slow them down, Ron, you got to keep DJ Augustine out of the lane, and you got to know where A.J. Abrams is.
Good formula.
Well, I'm not saying it would work.
I tell you, rebounding, we talked about that off the top of the telecast, and not to wear it out, but KU already 9 boards and only 2 for Nebraska. And it's been their problem. But with a 4-guard set and only 1 big man inside,
that's right,
you're really outnumbered.
And when you play good defense, there are going to be misses on the defensive backboards. Now they'll play without Marich for a while, see if they can generate some perimeter offense.
And that's going to be a push off by Ballham, who has just come into the ball game.
Young man who missed some time early in the year. This team has had 10 different players racked with injuries of some sort or another that have missed practices and games.
Well, you know, not to make excuses, but March himself, a hip, an ankle, and a very bad cold already this year. And he was strapped with injuries last year as well.
And throwing an appendectomy at the beginning of November.
Yeah. Shot clock is at 10. Rush for 3 and just very a 2. He was on the line.
See, here's the dilemma you have now. Doc Sadler is forcing jump shots. They're going to give him that perimeter shot, but early in this game, Kansas knocking them down. You're picking your poison when you play the Jayhawks.
Kansas at 60%. 9 of their first 15.
Look how they swarm on those screens.
And Nebraska now over 5 minutes without a basket.
You see why Kansas effective on the defensive boards. Huskers sending 4 back.
And let's check in with Reese Davis for SportsCenter 30 at 30.
Okay, Ron, Kentucky Derby champion Barbaro was euthanized this morning. That ended an 8-month ordeal after Barbaro fractured his right hind leg at the Preakness. After a nearly 2-month delay, Barry Bonds finalized his deal with the Giants. According to the San Francisco Chronicle, part of the deal is that Bonds' personal trainers aren't welcome in the Giant clubhouse. SportsCenter after the game, ESPN News Now.
Okay, Reese, our situation, a foul called on Nebraska, and I think it was on Ryan Anderson. And it is his 3rd foul already.
Anderson, the young man we mentioned from Rainier Beach in Seattle. The place that's produced the likes of Jamal Crawford and Roderick Stewart. C.J. Giles, among others. Nate Robinson now with the New York Knicks.
About to go under 10 minutes in this opening half. Right with the tip. Couldn't get it to go. Maric will surround it and come down with a rebound.
See, the dilemma for Nebraska now is you do want to use some clock, but you cannot pass up shot opportunities.
Looking inside to Maric. Very unselfish. Dealt the ball off. Whistle on a foul. Maric still does not have a point in the ball game. And of course, he's very capable of scoring a lot, as we have already seen on 3 different occasions. Very unselfish, trying to make a quick pass, skip pass, what have you, to find a teammate open.
Well, he knows that Bill Self has concentrated his defense around him, so Maric's not going to force shots. It's a young man that's dropped 37 in a game in his Big 12 career at Iowa State.
4 seconds on the shot clock. Wouldn't stay. Chalmers with a rebound for KU.
Not easy to manufacture points right now if you're Doc Sadler.
Sasha Khan. Wow. The block woke up this crowd. Knocked out of bounds. It will stay with Nebraska. Just take one more look at that block.
Now, you like your post player to be patient, but Sasha Khan takes way too much time getting this shot off, and you see the block by Kyle Marks, the sophomore from Riviera Beach, Florida. Good athlete, another one of those guys that's missed a lot of time this year with injuries.
Maric sets a foul on Khan as he just ran right through him. Well, Super Tuesday means a night of college basketball on ESPN. First at 7 Eastern, Mississippi State faces the Ole Miss Rebels in Oxford. Then at 9 o'clock in the Big Ten, it's Michigan State taking on the Fighting Illini. Super Tuesday tomorrow night, presented by Lexus, also in HD.
Well, if you haven't watched Drew Neisel closely this year, he is putting himself in position certainly to be considered for Big Ten Player of the Year, although Orlando Tucker's had a great year.
Henry had it blocked. 2-on-2, and really nice job with the left-handed layup by the sensational freshman, Sharon Collins.
Well, you've seen the length and quickness of Kansas pay off on the defensive end. They've been absolutely outstanding. Nebraska shooting only 22%.
Three-pointer, that was partially blocked, I believe, by Russell Robinson. And Kansas comes away with this one. Here's Chalmers. Collins for three.
Oh, boy. This is a regular occurrence. Sharon Collins shooting 50% from the arc and beyond. 23-3 run. Well, we talked about Sharon Collins. You know, think Tim Hardaway, the youngster from Chicago, Crane Tech, coached well by Anthony Longstreet, can drive to the hole, knock down the three, and we've seen him be brilliant this year, Ron, in terms of distributing to his teammates as well.
You know, one of the things that the young man has done, Andrea Huddy is the person who takes care. She's a strength coach, but also nutritionist, if you will. And Andrea told me before the ball game, I said, what is he down to? He has lost 28 pounds. He is not a particularly tall young fella, 5'11", but he cut out just the junk foods. And she said, you know, they would sit and observe him eating. Holly Rowe has got more on the young man and what he's done to take so much weight off. Holly?
Well, guys, they actually put him on a 2,000 a day calorie, which you guys might know for a man is really, really low. And they said he didn't cheat. He was so into it, he would do exactly what they told him and eat exactly what they told him. The hardest thing for him has been to cut out fast food. Coach Self had a great quote in the paper where he said, I think this is a young man who ate fast food probably every day of his 18 years. But they have limited it. He can have Subway or Quiznos, so they've given him a little leeway on that fast food, guys. But he's shown a tremendous commitment to getting that weight off, and it's only helping him on the floor.
You know, Holly, the part that I think was funniest is the fact that Andrea would sit in with him at breakfast and also lunch, and the head coach would sit with him at the dinner meal to make sure he stayed within those boundaries. There's Andrea right there.
Well, what's that saying in Lawrence in the restaurants? No shoes, no shirts, no Sharon. You see this guy in your fast food restaurant, call the basketball office immediately.
Yeah, that was Holly Rowe's line at lunch today. That is very funny. Because we had jokingly said that Bill sent flyers around to all the places that serve fast foods and said if you see him, send him back to Allen Fieldhouse.
To the salad bar. Well, he's been outstanding. And also the leadership. I think this team really believes in his leadership.
Chalmers on the floor and a travel is called. That's the first KU turnover. At the 7:19 mark, they lead by 23. So we are back 29-6 is our score. And in fact, Nebraska very close to going 9 minutes without scoring. You know, the top of the Big 12 is about to shake up. Take a look at this schedule coming up for this Saturday and also on Monday. A&M visits Lawrence, and then on Monday, Texas at Texas A&M.
Got a little round robin action here. Texas Tech, Oklahoma State also towards the top of the league, playing well. Right now, you just need to climb back in, possession by possession.
Muscles his way in, and he walked.
Well, give Kansas credit now, Ron. 5 blue shirts inside the lane.
Into the game for Jayhawks.
This is mom and dad. This young man comes out of the Australian Institute of Sport, which has produced the likes of Aaron Bruce, who we saw Saturday, Andrew Bogut. In fact, the 2003 Australian under-20 team were the world champions, knocking off, among others, the United States.
Nice pick and roll. The dish inside. Arthur lost it, but right there to get the ball back was Russell Robinson. And Arthur says, I'll take it myself. Very talented freshman out of the Dallas area. Played at South Oak Cliff.
Played for James Mays, won a state 4A title. Teammate of Kevin Rogers, who we saw Saturday for Baylor, grabbed 13 rebounds.
This is the largest deficit by the Cornhuskers this entire season. Down by 25 points.
Well, you see the length that Marich has to contend with in terms of Arthur.
Wright.
No, that's not Julian Wright's strength. Only 2 for 9 coming in behind the arc, but everything going right for Wright. Isn't that right?
Yeah. If you say so.
See that?
Boy, they've been just devastatingly good tonight. 34-6, just under 6 minutes to play in the first half. And let's check in quickly with Holly Rowe. Holly?
Well, guys, in that last time out in the huddle, Bill Self told his Kansas team that he loves how they're playing on defense, obviously just limiting the Huskers to 6 points. What they're doing, he said they're going to continue to do, is every time Marich gets the ball in the low post, they're going to trap him. They're like what they're doing to get him frustrated. You guys have seen every time he gets the ball, they just collapse on him in the low post. So look for more of that. And then on transition, they want to start running the floor, playing Kansas basketball and get up and down a little bit more.
Thanks, Holly. Russell Robinson with his second foul. He went to the bench. And Collins is back out, number 4.
It's a Nebraska team that has played very good defense this season.
And a travel called on Wright.
Now keep in mind, Ron, Doc Sadler got this job in early August. He's already got a 7-man recruiting class coming in, considered in the top 15 classes in the country.
And I jokingly asked him today, just before he started practice, how many of those people are big men? He said all of them.
Yeah, he's got 3 particularly 6'7" or bigger. But his recruiting contacts are nationwide.
Right at the 5:07 mark. 11 minutes since Nebraska scored, and a travel called on Marich.
There's the frustration now, trying to do it alone. And just keep your eye on this now. Good Kansas defense. Now Jackson keeps him between the basket and himself. You see bodies up, hands in the air. This is a guy averaging 17 plus a game.
Here's Collins. White tried for the steal, couldn't get it, and he tipped it back over to his teammate Strobridge. White trying to make something happen. And that's what the head coach is looking for in a blowout like this one already, to see what his team is made of, who's going to continue to give you the effort, and if anybody quits.
Oh, you're right. And this team has played hard all year. We talked about some of those early season wins. They had 11 non-conference wins, the most in a dozen years.
Valander checks into the ball game, a sophomore out of Blacksburg, Virginia. Strobridge. Oh, that's way off. Wow.
Well, this team went to Kansas State Saturday, played great defense, holding Kansas State to 32%, but didn't score.
Chalmers will go to the line for a couple. The foul is on Jamal White. He's first.
Been there a few times, Ron. It's a long night. There's not many answers. It's going to take good recruiting. The development of some of these young players, getting an opportunity to play in the Big 12.
Kyle Marks checks back into the lineup for Nebraska. Second one on the way, and Chalmers gets that one. Leading the scoring way, Rush with 12 and Wright with 11 for the Jayhawks. 5 for Collins. Richardson not there, and it's 1 and out again.
Every missed jumper, the rim shrinks.
Doc, what do you prepare to say when you go in at halftime?
You know, you just say, forget the first half score. Let's get back out there and play hard, and let's not quit. Let's see if we can make a fight of this.
White with the second foul. We'll take a timeout.
Bello, thanks a lot for the head, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's soaked.
Yeah, it was a tough show. I was a disaster. Hey, we're gonna play some ball out back. Can I borrow some socks?
No, I don't have any socks.
I'm Reese Davis. Coming up on the UPS Halftime Report, we'll take you to a Big East catfight in Philadelphia. Also show you the candidates for the big man on campus. The Suns have ripped off 17 straight wins. Their winning streak being pushed against the Timberwolves. It's all coming up on the UPS Halftime Report. Digger and Stacy will join me. See you in a bit, Ron.
Okay, Reese, the situation here in Lincoln. It is 35-6, the Jayhawks, with 3:47 showing on the clock until halftime. And Arthur at the line.
Because the Huskers missed the extra point.
Yeah. Boy, I've seen Kansas look good, but it's when you look at the offensive ranks.
Well, there has been improvement, obviously, statistically, but not tonight. You got to remember, Kansas, one of probably the best 5 defensive teams in the country in terms of field goal defense and scoring defense, block shots, steals. One of the best perimeter defenses in the country.
Well, the foul's going to be on Arthur. Crowd cheering in jest there because after the whistle, one of the Nebraska players scored a basket. Listen, this is tough on him. I mean, they work as hard as the KU players work. It's just one of those things where you got no big people, you got that mismatch, and you got a team that is in here that is loaded with veterans and also really good young ball players. That's a formula for maybe disaster.
Oh, you're right, and that's why the program is where it is.
To follow Arthur.
Darrell Arthur, whose numbers had slipped in Big 12 play. Off to a great start early in the year, 19 against Florida. Only 7 points a game since the start of the Big 12.
Completes the three-point play. And number 12, Kyle Marks, checks back into the lineup.
Barry Collier, the head coach here, became the athletic director at Butler, where they're having so much success under Todd Licklider. Doc Sadler named in August, and actually had to not only convince White and Marich to stay, also do a little bit of recruiting to round out this roster, Ron.
And this is 13 minutes without a bucket.
Well, this has been uglier than Mick Jagger with an 8 a.m. wake-up call.
At what time today did you start preparing that ad lib?
No, I just pulled that out of my bag. Didn't think I'd use it this year.
Okay, well, now it's been used. You can throw away that and the bag.
Okay.
Tip inside, could not get it to go. And Strobridge comes down with the basketball. Crowd trying to encourage here. Strobridge strong to the hoop, scored it, count it. Opportunity for a three-point play. And listen to these Husker fans. They didn't come here to sit and not cheer.
Well, it's red out tonight, red and white of Husker country. You see the freshman Strobridge from Ardmore, Alabama with the finish. Another one of those freshmen that Doc Sadler picked up in August, signed at Arizona State.
Well, he missed the free throw, knocked out of bounds by number 25, Paul Valander, the sophomore out of Blacksburg.
Number 25.
We talked about what a crazy first year it's been. 9 or 10 different players missing games because of injuries. Some big wins, and then how about a crazy schedule? 17,000 miles already from Florida to Hawaii.
The cable guy. Okay.
Well, there's been a sort of a power outage tonight offensively.
Wright gets the second one. The foul was called on Valander.
Little Chicago matchup here. Charles Richardson. Sharon Collins.
Henry.
Quick hands.
Collins took it away from him, and Collins was fouled.
We've seen time and time again this season, Collins, Robinson, Chalmers. Quick, not only a foot, but quick-handed.
At the line, shooting 2, number 4, Sharon Collins.
It's interesting, Ron. Nebraska has been a thorn in Kansas' side in the past up here.
Yeah, they have been. Well, Wednesday night means ACC basketball on ESPN as the Miami Hurricanes face the North Carolina Tar Heels. ACC Wednesday, presented by Staples on ESPN 7 Eastern. It's also available at ESPN HD.
Carolina probably the one team in the country deeper than this Kansas team. We'll throw Florida in there as well.
Well, let's see about the last 2 minutes here. 43-8, Kansas. Henry back to Anderson, and he gets the three. First three of the night.
And he's playing with 3 fouls. Sadler throwing caution to the wind.
Three-pointer on the way, couldn't get it to go.
It's like Brady Morningstar, the son of former Jayhawks star Roger Morningstar.
Right there in Lawrence.
That's an old friend of yours, Ron.
Mr. Vanity. All-time head coach, so successful, and an athletic director here at Lincoln.
We talked about this before the game. When you think back to the late 80s, early 90s, and of course Danny Nee was here, guy I worked for. You think of the pros that came out of here. Alex King, Eric Strickland, Eric Piakowski, Mikey Moore still playing. Eric Piakowski out the Phoenix Suns, long-range bomber.
Anderson, the leading scorer for Nebraska with 6 points. He's got a couple of three-pointers.
Little flat 1-3-1 zone.
Rush for three.
Just about pride right now for the Cornhuskers.
About to go under 1 minute to play in this opening half. Well, Ryan Anderson, the freshman out of Seattle, Rainier Beach, trying to make something happen. Early, had a high ankle sprain. It slowed him down some, and because he's having to play what is really the 4 spot, he is the best post passer that they have, and one of the things that Bill Self talked about at the shoot around today is to keep an eye on him because he does a good job of that. But I'll tell you, this Kansas team has neutralized just any and everything that Nebraska has tried to do.
And you know, the 4-guard lineup actually can be effective at times, but Kansas's quickness, particularly when you're talking about guys like Julian Wright at the 4 spot, absolutely right, neutralized. This young man at 29 out of Hawaii in the Rainbow Classic.
Second free throw on the way, doesn't get it.
Looks like a use it or lose it timeout for Bill Self.
So 59.1 seconds left, and it is time for Hoops 101, friend.
Yeah, tonight it's basketball geography, Ron. We throw a lot of terms around that the fan at home may not know about. We talk about the elbow, that area right there, and the foul line extended. The short corner, something used to attack zones, and Kansas won't play much zone tonight, but here's a good example of the ball movement from the top to the foul line extended, down to that short corner, the skip pass and a jumper. EA Sports, those guys up in Vancouver, Sean O'Brien and the crew do a great job. March Madness 07. Our boys have become very proficient at the game.
I'll bet they have.
Beat their father like Kansas is beating Nebraska tonight, actually.
43-14, just to toss out some numbers. 4 of 19 for 21% for the Huskers. And don't blame them, because a lot of really sound KU defense is what has caused that. 48.3% for Kansas. They're 14 of 29.
Nebraska obviously not getting not much done on the offensive glass for one. They're not sending anybody to the boards.
Ball knocked away. Richardson caused the turnover.
Well, when you're building a program, it starts with changing the culture, creating an intensity level, and we're going to see what Nebraska is made of when they come out in the second half, Ron. Score right now a foregone conclusion.
White, nice bounce pass, and good job at kissing it off the glass for Marks.
Another one of those young big guys that's been injured. Very, very athletic.
7 seconds, down to 6. Collins looks up. They gave him an avenue. He got it up, taken away by Nebraska, and we will head to the locker room with a 43-16 margin. Julian Wright, 13 points, 12 points for Brandon Rush, and 8 for Arthur for the Jayhawks. Now let's join Reese Davis, Digger Phelps, and Stacey Dale. UPS halftime report.
3 of the 6 worst losses in Nebraska history come at the hands of Kansas. We could very well be seeing 4 of 7 coming up. And unless Johnny Rodgers or Mike Rozier get a little eligibility back, I don't think Nebraska can score enough in the second half, Richard.
Reese, but I want to tell you, Doc Sadler,
Sadler, yeah.
You know, my first year at Notre Dame, we go 6-20. It was like this every night.
The 94-29 loss to Indiana.
I find it hard to believe that Richard Digger Phelps ever lost a game.
Well, after all of these years, he would have you think that he didn't, but it did happen from time to time. The record indicates that.
Who has outplayed them badly?
Well, this is one you don't dissect, or at least you don't waste a lot of time dissecting. But Kansas has Julian Wright and Brandon Rush, the 2 preseason co-players of the year. It's not often this season that they've both been on track in a game, and tonight that has been the case. Wright hurting inside and out, and then Brandon Rush, knocking down jump shots, playing good solid defense, and really everything going the Jayhawks way.
So you look at the individuals. 13 points for Wright, Rush with 12, 4 of 8 for Wright, 4 of 7 for Rush, 5 rebounds and 4. And here are the stats in the first half. And as you might imagine, they're not pretty for the Huskers.
You know, it sort of speaks for itself, Ron, as you mentioned. Only 5 field goals in the first half for the Cornhuskers.
Well, that field goal drought, 13 minutes and 43 seconds.
I'm very interested to see these first 3 minutes. I'm always conscious of that, Ron. See if the halftime talk went to good use.
March battles inside and is going to be fouled. Could be any one of 3 people there. It's going to be Chalmers. Holly Road, let's check with you. What do you have for us?
Well, guys, I talked with Doc Sadler at the half, and he said, you know, that was a bad 20 minutes, and I'm glad it's over. He said, what I've told our guys, the game's over. Don't worry about the score. I want you guys to focus on going out and competing. Here's where we can learn how to get better and more competitive as a team, guys. One thing, though, that might give Nebraska fans heart, one of the security guards here said, hey, we've had it much worse here before. Back in 1957, Wilt Chamberlain beat us 104-46, guys.
Oh, my.
Well, there's no Wilt out here for the Jayhawks, but very solid compliment of McDonald's All-Americans.
And March with 1 point. 3-pointer too hard off the back iron. Robinson hustles for the carry. In that one whatsoever.
Good solid defense by March, just staying between Kahn and the basket. It's interesting, the 2 big fellas from overseas. March, the little more polished of the 2, played more basketball.
Anderson for 3.
guy's got a nice stroke.
That's his third three-pointer of the evening.
This is where that four-guard look can come in handy in stretching a defense.
Reach in by White. And that's the third foul on him.
You know, you could imagine Doc Sadler being very positive with his team, Ron, as Holly mentioned, and not to belittle this team, but then as they leave the locker room, nice move.
Whoa, Robinson. That'll be on a few highlight reels.
But as they're walking out, I guarantee he's telling his assistant coaches, we need to keep recruiting.
Robinson with the takeaway. Outlet to right. That's going to be 4 fouls on Ryan Anderson.
I won't be surprised now if Doc Sadler leaves Ryan Anderson out there. Russell Robinson has stepped up very nicely in Big 12 play, reestablishing himself. Take a look at this. You see Julian Wright. That's close because, you know, by the rule states the hand is part of the basketball, but Curtis Shaw, veteran official. See, and Anderson's going to stay out there, Ron, with 4.
Puts up a long three. Air ball. Richardson tries to retrieve it, and Richardson got run over, and the crowd not real happy with that.
If you're Kansas now, you want to stay with that same aggressiveness that you did in the first half. Important to finish what you started.
Con, you see the double on him. Misses, and Moritz rebounds.
That's where Sasha Khan at times has been inconsistent in his career. Young man who played very little basketball before coming to the United States.
Moritz, the double on him, and the foul on Chalmers.
Nice job of establishing Moritz early in this second half. The double team comes slowly.
So they called it on Khan, his third. Quickly off with the warm-up, Darnell Jackson. His parents, and if you did not join us off the top of the telecast, his mom, it's the first time since he's been here playing in the States that she has seen him play as a participant for the University of Nebraska.
Parents from the former Yugoslavia, as was Andrew Bogut. Australia, a haven for people from that part of the world. Also turned out some pretty good basketball players.
Russell Robinson pass deep in the corner. Three-pointer, and it's there for Chalmers.
Nice patience that time. Ran the clock down. Robinson able to get into the lane. Bill Self wants the same kind of effort in the second half that he got the first 20 minutes.
White. And Rush will pick up the foul. And let's check in with Holly Rowe. Holly.
Well, guys, you're talking about that friendship that Andrew Bogut and Alex March have. Well, actually, they're such good friends. You know, they have that experience at the Australian Institute of Sport, growing up together, playing basketball, also from Serbia. But they actually spent Christmas together. Nebraska had a couple of days off, so he actually flew up to Chicago, met up with Andrew, and they spent Christmas Day together. So not only have they become friends on the court, but it's been kind of a nice home haven for Alex here in the United States to be able to hook up with Andrew Bogut.
Thanks, Holly. That's a nice story because so many of these youngsters who come from so far away, some of them don't get home for 2 years at a time.
Well, you're right, Ron. One of the guys that talked Alex Marich into coming back and playing in Nebraska was Aaron Bruce of Baylor.
I'll tell you what, Russell Robinson just keeps on doing whatever he's asked to do. Such a good team guy, defender, assist man, the whole package.
And you're right. There's 4 guys that have stepped up in Big 12 play. Rush Collins, Khan, and especially Russell Robinson, knocking down the 3 with more frequency.
White not there. Wright with the rebound. Anderson for three. Got it.
How about that?
You know, it's interesting. In talking with some KU people before the ball game, there's some people who would like to see Collins become the starter. But the point continues to be brought up, and I think it's very smart. You know this as a coach. You cannot lose Russell Robinson as far as his heart and his soul. You've got to have him. And therefore, in plus fact, I think the freshman is happier coming off the bench.
Well, remember this, Ron. Early in the game, when you have a guy like Collins that comes in the game, he comes in with a little extra juice. But right now, the juice being provided by Russell Robinson from New York City, Rice High School. Knocks it down. He's the glue of this Jayhawk team. Kansas, big.
NBA Wednesday, Spurs, Jazz, 9 Eastern on ESPN.
This telecast is available on ESPN HD, presented by Olivia. At our score, 55-24, Kansas leading this one, 15:44 remaining. Russell Robinson, perfect from the field, 9 points, and he's got 5 rebounds.
What we were talking about, Russell Robinson starts each half, but then this guy comes off the bench, and when the other team is a little bit fatigued, he comes in fresh, turns it into high gear, and in 20 minutes a game, Ron, in the Big 12, young man averaging 13 points a game, shooting nearly 60% behind the arc.
Well, for people that think that Bill Self has got a decision to make, I disagree with him, because I think the logic we just talked about makes all the sense in the world. As Perry knocks down a 3 for the Jayhawks, for the Huskers, sorry.
Well, there's been a problem for Kansas. It's not that they have too many egos, it's that they're too egoless at times.
Chalmers.
Guys like Rush and Wright at times have been passive this year. Selfishness not really a big problem with this club. Oh, he's got him.
March quickly, left hand, scores it.
Nice move. He needs to touch the ball every time down.
It's his first
possible.
basket. That's 5 points for him. The other 3 came at the free throw line.
This is a guy, Marich, who 11 days after appendectomy comes out and gets 29 and 10 in the opening game of the season against Nebraska Omaha. You mentioned Ron playing through a lot of pain this year.
Yeah, the hip, the ankle, really bad respiratory situation. Screen for Robinson. Wide open Chalmers. And Richardson gets the ball here safely and saves the young fan as well. Holly Rowe, let's check back with you.
Well, guys, we've talked about the injury problems that have plagued Nebraska this year. Well, Marcus Perry is one of those players. He's not even able to practice. He's been suffering from a stress fracture in his left foot and plantar fasciitis. So they've got him wearing these funky new shoes every day he practices. They're called the Z-Coil. They're designed to take the pressure off of the player's foot. Some people say they take between 50 and 80% of the pressure off the feet. And guys, he's been wearing them for about 2 weeks, and he says it's already made a big difference.
Okay, Holly, today he went straight to the bike and worked out for a very long time, then came down and shot 3-pointers on his own.
Well, he's given Doc Sadler in his first year a big lift, the young man from Alabama. And not only that, he's got a wife and 2 lovely daughters. So he's already a family man and finishing his education here at Nebraska.
Anderson for 3. Step down the end line. Did Collins.
Well, Doc Sadler, Ron, really did have to put a hodgepodge group together. Who was staying, who was transferring, who they could sign in August.
March.
There's the muscle that we talked about at 6'11", 270. Averaging 17 points a game in the Big 12. See the ball movement?
Jackson not there, but Rush, look how high.
Tell you what, Ron, Brandon Rush, he came in with a reputation of being a sharpshooter, maybe selfish, but anything but. He gets it done. Rebounding, playing defense.
Nice dish to Marich. Wow.
Not many times tonight, Huskers able to crack that Kansas defense with dribble penetration.
9 points now for Marich. And let's check in with Reese Davis. SportsCenter 30 at 30.
All right, Ron, Kentucky Derby champion Barbaro, after putting up a fight, was euthanized earlier today. Barbaro shattered his right hind leg at the Preakness just after winning the Kentucky Derby, ending his bid to make a run at the Triple Crown. Barry Bonds has his deal with the San Francisco Giants finalized a one-year contract. Details on that coming up on SportsCenter, ESPN News, always on.
Thanks, Reese. 13:05 left in this ball game. White just picked up his 4th foul, so Jamel is going to have to sit down. And the Huskers saved it. Good hustle right there by Henry.
Our friend Digger Phelps was talking about his first team at Notre Dame losing 94-29 Indiana.
Anderson again with a 3.
Digger had to play football players that year. Of course, John Shoemate, Adrian Dantley, and the like. White play, things changed. Getting through this first year will be trying at times.
Arthur with the block, and the foul, I think, is going to be on Arthur. Well, listen, you know, we all have been through something like that, a team that we were on, or take a look at the block coming up.
So please, Doc Sadler, the effort by Marich. A lot of fight in this group. Yes, we have. I've been through this a couple times.
You know, when I was in Tulsa, I did an hour coaches show with Coach Glenn Dobbs. And we had a lot of fun doing the show until one Sunday we had to do a show, and Houston had beaten Tulsa 100-6. So
in football.
In football.
Yep.
And a similar situation as far as just not a lot you can say, not a lot you can do. You could show a highlight maybe several times.
Now this will be a highlight here.
Right with the jam.
Sloppy pass by Sek Henry. Well, I mentioned Doc Sadler's long experience, assistant coach, many places. Very successful head coach. West Ark, junior college.
So let's take a timeout as we go to break. Right with the jam, 65-36, Jayhawks.
On SportsCenter, the Colts finally arrive in Miami. We kick off our Super Bowl 41 coverage from South Beach. Here, Brian Urlacher's plan to be like the Fridge, and the Flash joins our Super Bowl party.
They say family that plays together stays together, and one that walks apart just falls apart. So together we stand, divided we fall, united we form Voltron and take on all. Let's move, yes. The birds left the nest. I'm all grown up, I gotta fly with the rest. Best of the best is what we strive to be. Yeah, a legacy is what we trying to leave. Get in, let's say goodbye to the past. The future's here at last. The second coming, the new beginning. The truth is speaking. You should listen. So glorious, victorious. We take what we want. We born warriors.
Big Monday presented by Bud Light, and tonight 65-36 with just under 12 minutes to play here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Fran has continued to talk about what a young coaching staff and a young head coach, what do you do when you're facing this kind of adversity, because obviously it's going to be a loss, and it just depends on how bad.
Well, you just want to get something out of it. Play hard, don't give up. You're playing a very talented team, much more talented than you are. Everybody knows the situation that Doc Sadler is in, and you deal with it. You go out and you recruit, you get these young guys better. You get in the weight room and you build a program. It starts with building the culture of the program and playing hard, and that's been done here.
Another three-pointer. That one knocked down by Marcus Perry.
We were talking off air. My first year at St. John's, we got beat by Minnesota 78-39.
But Minnesota was the Final Four team that year, weren't they?
We didn't know it. And you know what? The other coach left the starters in at the end of the game, and I couldn't get mad. All I could think about was I got to go get better players. And no offense to the guys I was coaching, but you just have to continue to strengthen your program, and Doc will do that. Great reputation.
Speaking of good players, how about your first team all-conference if we selected right now?
Well, of course, it's going to change from week to week. Alex Marich hadn't had a great night, but in terms of centers, but obviously Durant and Bogan, AC Law. But I've got a second team too, Ron, because I know James On Curry's out there saying, hey, what about me? And he certainly deserves to be on the first team.
AC Law?
Yep. DJ Augustine's having a great year. Zeno and Rush, Joe Jones. And there's some guys that have really improved. Atanas Kavalauskas from A&M. Love the way Marshall Brown is playing in Missouri. We saw him with a big night.
Carter.
Yep.
Had a rough game last Saturday. Scored a lot from the free throw line. Another three-pointer by Anderson.
This young guy and Wesley Johnson of Iowa State, two of the biggest surprises in terms of freshmen. We knew about Augustine and Durant. We knew about Sharon Collins, Darrell Arthur, but gotta like this guy. This guy's got a nice long-range shot. Talked about the pedigree, coming playing for Mike Bethea up at Rainier Beach. It's one of those alumni. Jamal Crawford dropped 52 in a game this week for the New York Knicks, made 16 shots in a row.
And Holly, you got more on Anderson.
Well, guys, he played on a Friends of Hoop AAU team, and he went to a prep showcase before he came here to Nebraska, and he competed in the three-point long-range shootout and won. Guess who he beat? Kevin Durant from Texas. Pretty big name there that he was better than from the three-point line, at least at that time.
He can stroke it, Ron, that's for sure. We've seen that tonight. That's interesting. That ball can be on the rim as long as it's off the top of the cylinder, but there's a lesson right here. Freshman, new coach, and we saw today he was cajoling Anderson at practice to play hard and be prepared. And this is what you talk about, the first year. This guy is going to be a good player by the time he's a sophomore, junior, and senior. And you see a very emphatic Doc Sadler without embarrassing him in public, letting him know this is how it's going to be. Some growing pains right there.
Well, he along with Perry have been the best two players in this ball game this evening for the Huskers, and along with Marich, I guess you would say. Henry unlucky on that one, in and out. Under 10 minutes to play. Henry knocks the ball away, and he'll get the easy pickings here, jamming it home.
Well, Henry and Anderson, two freshmen we talked about. Strawbridge as well. So there is a future for these young Cornhuskers.
So let's take a timeout. 70-44. 9:09 left. Well, just want to show you something, an example of what Fran was talking about. Look at second half scoring. Nebraska by 1, 28-27.
And that's been against Kansas's starting group for the most part.
Now the KFC three-point bucket storyline.
There's a Kansas team that's been red hot the last two, 19 of 32 versus Colorado, and now Nebraska tonight. It's been finger-licking good for Bill Self's crew. This guy can not only shoot the rock, but very underrated defensively. Has learned to put the ball on the floor, Ron, going to the basket more. Excellent rebounder for his size. The other thing, very underrated, excellent shot blocker. The best shot blocking guard in the country, in my opinion.
Chalmers against Perry. Collins, the lob inside.
Self's got enough points right now. It's about working the offense, learning how to find those angles to get that ball posted.
March with his third foul.
Watch the lob.
Chalmers not there. Well, the standings, something's gonna change this weekend. A&M, boy, they got a tough load. They got at Kansas on Saturday, then at home against Texas on Monday.
They sure do, and coming off a tough, hard-fought game against Jeff Capel's Oklahoma Sooners. How about Anderson?
Well, Bill Self called that timeout.
Yep. And you know, that's what we talked about. He talked to his young freshman on the bench, gave him a little chewing out, didn't embarrass him in front of these 13,000. The young man comes back out and responds.
Well, Bill Self extremely animated in that huddle right now.
Remember I mentioned he not only wanted them to start quick, which they did, but he's coaching for the rest of the season. He's making sure this team doesn't settle for being up 30.
Anderson 6 of 9 from beyond the arc. Like here's a package on him.
Well, he's only 6'4", and he's playing power forward right now for Doc Sadler because that's what he needs to do, but he does stretch the defense from that spot. We've seen him calmly knock down some shots. Not a great athlete, but a lot of moxie and a nice touch from deep. Nothing drives a coach crazy, and to have a big lead and to give it away. Oh, nice move.
Arthur couldn't get it to go. Knocked out of bounds by March. It'll stay with KU. Now, KU led by 35. And almost said a minute ago, okay, now they got it under 25. Do the Huskers, and right now, 23-point ball game.
Well, and the dangerous thing is the next opponent is a Texas A&M team that is going to absolutely go for their throat.
But he rolled it over. A turnover by Rush.
That is going to be a great battle Saturday night at Allen Fieldhouse. Billy Gillespie, former Bill Self assistant, of course, the mentor to Doc Sadler. A&M very tough defensively. Very, yes.
1 and out on this trip. That one a little too hard, taken down by the Cornhuskers, but Richardson will push it up.
Tell you what, they get this under 20, it'll be a moral victory at least. Doc told Holly Rowe this game is over. Now we just need to play for pride.
March a little short on that one.
On Texas A&M, #1 in the country in field goal defense. Kansas #6. So,
you know, I was about to make the point that I know where Bill Self wants to see the ball game. Probably in the 70s, and Billy Gillespie probably would like to see that ball game in the low 50s, don't you imagine?
Yeah, I think so. They grind you out. Kowalski is one of the more improved players in the league. Joe Jones can hurt you inside.
Arthur with the turnaround. And certainly don't mean to say that the Ags couldn't hang with them if the game was in the 60s or getting on up there, because they certainly could.
But on the road in Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah, that's the best point of all right there.
You want to control the tempo of that game.
Because you talk about new faces and new places, and that's a place that is unlike no other as far as the Big 12, maybe one of the few in America.
Yep.
So let's take a timeout. When we come back, a little weather forecast. It'll be Fran's February forecast. Get out your pencils and paper.
Come on, a piñata.
Just beat that mule.
Okay.
Hey, it's Bud Light.
It's a Bud Light pinata!
Refreshingly smooth Bud Light. Always worth it.
Here, it's a Bud Light cake!
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Refreshingly Smooth Bud Light. Always worth it.
72-47, the Jayhawks leading this one over the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And now it is time we did the franchises back in the first half. Now, give us your forecast as far as February is concerned.
Well, you know what? There's 3 teams that I think already are set to go. And you look at, obviously, this Kansas team and Texas A&M, and I think Oklahoma State as well. They are smooth sailing. It's clear for them, Ron. Texas, of course, 5-1 in the league. RPI only 51, but they're looking pretty good. And Texas Tech has had a very solid start. Remember, Charles Burgess and John Plefka did not play against Missouri on Saturday. And then here's some, maybe some trouble. How do you say it? Meteorologically? I like that. I got that in. Kansas State, been a hot team lately. Has a chance. I think right now looking at 5 teams with a great shot to get in the tournament.
Collins missed the 3, and it was Rush who came down with the long rebound.
Little zone here by the Huskers.
25-point lead again by KU. That's a skip pass, making a bounce pass by Robinson. That's a long way.
That's a long way.
And particularly right at the edge of the paint. Melander comes back in the ball game for Nebraska. Number 25. Jackson will rebound.
You know, this might not be the best league in the country this year. I think the Pac-10, maybe the SEC, but talking to Bill Self today, he said this is the hardest play in the league has been since he's come to Kansas. Think of all those new coaches.
You know, the other thing, this league has truly, as we've now come almost full circle as far as seeing everybody, and absolutely the biggest crop, Melander with a 3, biggest crop of good young players, I think, that the Big 12 has had since its existence. You agree?
Oh, I think you're right. And although we may only see Kevin Durant one season, everybody we talked to said he's the best player, the best freshman that's ever played in this league. Go back to the Big 8, Wayman Tisdale and Danny Manning.
Whoa, skip pass there. No problem for Rush.
But the intensity level of teams like Kansas State, Texas A&M, and Texas, Kansas, outstanding.
Robinson off the mark on that one, and Anderson will save it for Nebraska.
You mentioned James on Curry earlier. You talk about Bogan and Curry and how well they've done for Sean Sutton this season.
Well, Richardson was off the mark on that one. Russell Robinson on the run. The rush lost the handle, and it's going to be Nebraska basketball.
Rick Barnes and the Longhorns will travel to Lubbock on Wednesday. That'll be an interesting ball game. Tech's coming off wins over Kansas and Texas A&M.
Tech is particularly tough at home. You know, Bill Self and his coaching staff will tell you that. Daryl Dora has been one that really enjoys playing KU, and particularly on the South Plain.
You are right. Of course, Martin Zeno, to me, one of the underrated players in the league this season.
Rush now with 9 rebounds in this ball game. .327 left in our ball game, and when we come back, we'll tell you more about this young man and an extraordinary second talent that he has. Don't go away. Lincoln. 3:27 left on the clock, and it's 72-50. Julian Wright, talk more about him, friend.
Well, he's got another hobby. We'll find out on Saturday, College Game Day. Our own Andy Katz spent some time at the Jayhawk Student Union. Now, I'm not saying he's the next Johnny Petraglia here, but he's got a pretty good hook, Ron. Of course, we know he pummeled Andy Katz. But nice touch.
Very nice touch.
Yep, spends a lot of his time at the bowling alleys.
And Holly Rowe, you've got more on him.
Well, guys, he had actually never bowled until he got to Lawrence, Kansas. He wanted a way to break the tension, and so he picked it up. Guys, he wears a size 16 shoe, so the bowling alleys had to come up with that kind of a size to rent to him. He's even got his own ball. He calls it Big Bully. And where he usually bowls is right next to where the bowling team practices. Kansas won the 2004 National Championship in bowling, so he's in good hands picking up some good tips.
Wow.
Well, everybody's aware of the Kansas bowling team. Very strong recruiting year coming in.
You talk about a long stride and stroke with that ball. Good heavens. Yeah. Very smooth.
Yeah, and you know what? And really, to top this all off, Julian Wright, probably one of the more popular athletes on that Kansas campus, has a friendly word for everybody. If anything, I think Bill Self wants him to be a little more aggressive.
Russell Robinson looking inside for Arthur.
Good inside out.
Rush, got it. Well, I look forward to that feature on Saturday. Good thinking, Andy Katz. That's a nice feature story.
Boy, and the guys, Reese Davis and the crew, they are going to have a great time at Allen Fieldhouse. Bigger and Jay, Hubert.
Henry dishes it off. White for three. Got it. Well, back to a 21-point ball game.
I think Doc Sadler is going to be pretty satisfied with the effort he got from the young Huskers in the second half.
Well, nobody is sulked. He's gotten in some good coaching time on the sideline. We saw him with Ryan Anderson, visited with him after he got bumped in the nose and he got his nose to stop bleeding. Plus, in fact, Ryan has played the entire second half with 4 fouls.
That's right. 7-man recruiting class is on the way to supplement this group. People are very happy with Doc Sadler.
Well, Richardson snuck inside and then missed the layup.
Richardson hadn't had a great game, Ron, but we talked about his leadership.
Coming up next, Sports Center, Colts arrive in Miami. Dwayne Wade joins us in South Beach, and Suns go for 18 straight wins. Richardson's going to go out of the ball game, and a nice round of applause for him.
Young man from Proviso East High School, played with Dee Brown and Shannon Brown. The school also produced Doc Rivers, Donnie Boyce, who had a great career at Colorado just a few years ago.
Had a good hand for Anderson as he went out of the ball game. Anderson with 19 points. Kleiman missed. Arthur with the tip wouldn't go.
And that's the kind of things that'll drive Bill Self crazy. Darrell Arthur missing the bunny inside.
We'll get a stoppage in play here as Stewart puts up the three-pointer. We'll show you the remaining schedule, the schedule coming up anyway for KU.
You know, the only thing that matters right now is getting ready for the Aggies on Saturday night.
I could promise you the Aggies are getting ready for them. Stewart. Oh, my goodness.
You know, the interesting thing about that, Ron, Stewart has not scored since early in the year. Got to go back to Dartmouth. Look at this. Trying to create a highlight for himself. Off the dish.
He was under the basket when he threw it, though, wasn't he?
Came out pretty quickly. It's his brother, Rod, A lefty, that's how you tell them apart. Rod's a righty, Wodrick's a lefty. And a great season for USC.
White, and he was fouled on the way to the hoop. Well, A&M. Then on the 7th, K-State will be there for that ball game.
This one won't be easy.
At Missouri, Colorado, and then Nebraska.
Come on, guys.
You know what? I beg your pardon. That ball game on the 7th is at Lawrence, and will be out in Manhattan on the 19th.
Big Monday. Oh, Kansas State's won 4 Big 12 games in a row, first time in their history.
Nice dish inside Sec Henry. 30 seconds remaining. 20-point ball game.
Well, Doc Sadler, we talked about it. He'll be happy with the effort in the second half.
Possession error says it'll go back to Nebraska.
And the remaining folks making sure they let these young Huskers know they appreciate them.
All right, when you go to the locker room, you know, what do you say? As you look at the second half scoring, by more than 7 points by Nebraska, or by 7, 40-33.
Well, if you Doc Sadler, you say we'll see you at 2:30 tomorrow. We're going to get better. We're going to learn from this, and the effort was better in the second half. Those Self generally very pleased. Come on the road and dominate this game from start to finish.
So the handshake between the head coaches. It's a 20-point win for the Jayhawks, 76-56. Coming up next, ESPN Sports Center. I'm Ron Frankfurt for Fran, for Shalom Hollyrow, and our entire crew. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sport. So long, everybody, from Lincoln, Nebraska.
It feels kind of like a college bowl game. That intensity times a million.
This is Sports Center.